What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Multiverse Monologues, the podcast show where we like to travel across the multiverses and fandoms that we love to talk about the movies and television shows that accompany those universes. Gentlemen, do you remember X-Men Days of Future Past? I mean, I sure do. I sure do.
100%.
It's,
Fondly.
it's in our top 5. And Bryan Singer, who took a break when it got bad, came back when Matthew Vaughn fixed it in X-Men First Class. He came back and he delivered X-Men Days of Future Past. One of the greatest movies that we have seen on this marathon, I think, for sure. And
Very surprising.
2 years later, he has delivered the sequel, X-Men Apocalypse. But does it live up to the hype and the quality that Days of Future Past has? We are definitely going to talk about it. Me, Ben Rayside, alongside with, as always, Mr. Ethan Wensloff. Ethan, how you doing?
You know, I'm not doing too well today. If you're watching the video, you can tell I got something on my face. I grabbed my sweatshirt, I fashioned a little bandana. I got this weird thing going on. When I open my eyes, I shoot lasers.
More weird than normal.
It's more weird than normal. So I just got to cover myself today. I apologize, all right? To you two, it's very unprofessional, but I don't want to shoot lasers all around, all right?
Thank you for not destroying my apartment.
You're welcome.
You're
welcome.
I hope Micah has no trees that were planted by his father around here.
I just
because,
What are you crying? I didn't beat you up yet.
I would hate to wreak havoc all over the room, you know? Just... we're gonna keep this.
We're gonna talk. This X-Men Apocalypse has many of those self-references that are pretty funny, I think. But we're gonna dive deep into that. And someone else who's also gonna dive deep into this movie is Mr. Micah Head. Micah, how you doing?
Learning.
Ooh, just another quality line from X-Men Apocalypse, man. That's for sure. Anything you want to say, Mike, or is that it? Is that it?
That's it.
All right.
I'm ready to go.
That's perfect. Yes, we're back with the Marvel movie marathon at Multiverse Monologues, and going through the year 2016, we've got Deadpool in the Fox X-Men universe, and now a second Fox X-Men universe in 1 year. And this one's pretty divided along the internet. If you've seen this movie, this was actually my first time really investing myself in it, but if you've seen this movie, it has a lot of fan discourse online. I know the Rotten Tomatoes score is not as high as maybe some of the other ones are, but we're here to talk about it now because it's 2023. This movie came out 7 years ago.
Month as Civil War.
Yeah, it's
Add some competition.
big competition. Did it live up to the hype? We're going to talk about it. But before we do, go check out YouTube, Multiverse Monologues on YouTube. We just crossed 450 subscribers.
Oh yeah, baby.
Slowly growing every week. We come back and I feel like there's definitely something on there. So go check out YouTube. We've got a lot of great videos and content up there. A highlight over the past couple weeks was definitely the Spider-Man low budget fan film that these two gentlemen very excellently produced.
Oh yeah.
And producer Parker.
Yes.
Can't forget about him.
Credit to him. And the 4K Morbius Steelbook. Gotta give a shout out to that.
Absolutely. So go check out YouTube Multiverse Monologues. But gentlemen, let's open our sling rings and head over to the Fox X-Men universe.
Ethan, destroy the podcast. Wreak havoc.
This is my brother Scott.
Hello, Scott. Welcome to the School for the Gifted.
Yeah, doesn't exactly feel like a gift.
It never does at first.
In the year 1983, an ancient mutant named Apocalypse is awakened after being entombed for centuries. Apocalypse is a powerful being who believes that mutants are the superior race and that humans are weak and unworthy. Sounds pretty familiar. He sets out to conquer the world and create a new world order where mutants rule supreme. The X-Men, led by Professor X and Raven, must stop Apocalypse from achieving this goal. They are joined by a new generation of mutants, including Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Storm. The X-Men must use all of their strength and skills to defeat Apocalypse in a battle that will determine the fate of the world. That is your summary for X-Men Apocalypse.
The X-Men have to save the world. This is against the guy who wants to destroy it for mutant kind.
They've never faced a threat like that before.
No way. World-ending threat.
Magneto's in there somewhere too.
Well, okay, so before we get into our thoughts, I'll say this. This is probably the biggest an X-Men movie has been so far, right?
This
I
is
don't
the
know.
first
Maybe time
world
travel
threat.
trumps that. Like, Apocalypse is a huge
From a scale
threat.
wise, you talking?
Yeah, like,
I think Last Stand is pretty big scale wise.
yeah.
Yeah, they take over that city, and then that bridge is
that's
blown
true.
up, and you got Juggernaut running through, and you got a lot of mutant. It's more of a war type movie.
Okay.
This is more
Yep.
of a battle, I'd say.
Well, I guess I'm looking at things in terms of Apocalypse. Like, he's literally trying to end humanity.
Yeah.
If
have all the
Magneto, if
mutants.
Magneto kept going,
know?
the world would have been destroyed.
Yeah.
Like that would have been it.
Yeah. Before we get into all that, though, like, there's a lot definitely to unpack with this movie, but I want to shoot it out to Mr. Wenslaw first. I want to get your guys' thoughts, because this is something that we haven't really talked about this movie very much.
No
So
way,
Ethan,
yeah.
like, did you see this movie in theaters? Do you remember this movie at all?
This is my first time seeing it. I watched this
Really?
today for the first time. Yeah, I was a latecomer to the X-Men universe. I didn't really start getting into it till a few years ago, but this one, for the most part, it's pretty not loved by a lot of fans, and I never really decided, I wanted to watch this, because I mean, I was on board with the MCU since I saw the Avengers in theaters, and every one of those movies I would make sure I saw. But these X-Men movies, I wasn't really jumping into real quick. So I remember the trailer coming out for this. I remember people talking about it. I remember the reveal. Oh, Jean Grey is going to be in this. This is going to be really cool. I never ended up seeing it till today, and my thoughts are it's not bad. It's all right. I didn't hate it. I think if we're talking, as they say in this movie, the third is always the worst. I think I can fight that claim, because if you go back and watch X-Men First Class, I don't think that movie's as strong. We all collectively don't think that movie's as strong as people say. But no, I didn't hate this movie. There's a lot of elements that I really, really enjoyed, and then a lot of other stuff that I didn't really enjoy. For example, I think what X-Men Days of Future Past did so well is they took this big, broad idea of the X-Men, and they gave us a distinct endpoint for that movie. They shrunk the cast down into a core group of X-Men. And I think the biggest mistake of this one is, yes, there are a lot of X-Men doing things, but there's a lot of X-Men doing things. Where the X-Men movies in the past have failed is they focused only on Wolverine, only on Logan. Now this, you take away that center point of Logan. Who would you guys say the main character in this movie is? Is it Charles?
It's a great question. It's a great
I think
question.
you lose that
Be
centerpiece.
Eric too. I mean,
Could be Eric. I think there's an argument for Eric. Cyclops? Is there an
Raven?
argument for Cyclops in there? Raven?
would
not
say-
as much.
Raven, I
that-
would definitely say would be a contender for me.
Yeah, it's more of an ensemble movie, though, which I
for
think
sure.
you lose your focus when you go that route. But I think a lot of story elements really work for me. Michael Fassbender as Magneto, I think
Once again,
once
amazing.
again kills it.
Oh
I
my
think
gosh.
towards the end, when he's working with Apocalypse, you kind of lose his story. But man, the first hour,
I know.
his
Yep.
story,
Yep.
fantastic. So yeah, I'm a slight fan of this movie. I'm ready to talk about
Slight
it.
fan.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Micah, are you where Ethan is? Where are you at? Well, first of all, the X-Men movies that you watched with your dad, was this among them?
This was the second to last that we saw. So we
Okay.
didn't watch Deadpool 2 together, but we watched Logan after this.
Okay.
So we watched every single X-Men movie from X-Men to Logan. And this was my second watch. The first time I watched it was on Blu-ray, I believe. Or maybe it was on Netflix for a short time. I don't remember. It could be my third watch. I don't really remember. But this is the watch that's important, because this is the one where I realized this movie kind of rules. I like this movie. All right, so
Oh.
what X-Men Apocalypse does different from the other X-Men movies is I think, is the most X-Men movie we've had where it focuses on the whole group. Every other movie before this has been, it's a Logan movie, or it's a Jean Grey movie, or it's you know what I mean? It's just like focusing mostly on this one person, mostly on this other person, and then a bunch of side characters you don't care about at all, and you just want to get off the screen.
Yeah.
There weren't really characters in this that I wanted to get off the screen. Even the villain, like, people dog on Oscar Isaac being what's his name, like Apocalypse. They call him Apocalypse in the but he's got some Egyptian name. people dog on him for looking weird and for saying these weird, but I mean, the lines weren't that far off from what I'd expect the character to say. He's a threatening villain. He has these amazing powers, and it's like if you pit it up against Thanos, I think it'd be an interesting fight. Like that'd be pretty cool. And with this movie, how I feel it's more of an X-Men movie than the other ones is it takes all these characters and it doesn't go super far deep into them, but it shows you just enough to get you interested in them. So you're not just bored whenever a character's on screen.
Yeah.
Like with Quicksilver, they give him the stuff we care about. With Jean Grey, they give us the stuff we care about. With, what's his name? Gazer Beam. They give us the stuff we care about. Cyclops, yeah. I almost said Vision. It's not Vision.
He has no vision.
Like, every single character. I didn't care about Nightcrawler before this. I didn't care about Angel before this. I didn't care about... Like, they give all of these characters a little bit more that just gets me interested in them. I'm like, all right, these are cool.
To me, that this channeled a lot of the energy that I felt the animated show gives you. It's all these characters doing just so many different things on different missions, having different tasks, and they really meet up at these small connection points. But I think, I like that you love this movie. I do. But I think like your favorite part of this movie is kind of my critique of it is I'd never latched on to that character. I think it was a fun journey, beginning to end. I enjoyed it, but I never felt narratively like, all right, I love this character.
I think he knew that he had Logan in the pipeline, and that's why he didn't focus on just one character, because he knew he had Logan coming up, and who knew if there was going to be a sequel after this. As the final X-Men movie, it's not, but as the final X-Men movie, I would be happy if this is where the series ended.
Yeah, I think
like this would be a satisfying. Like, okay, yeah, they set up the Dark Phoenix stuff. That could have been a cool thing to go on. Shame they didn't make a Dark Phoenix movie, right? So we're all set.
I think at points it just taps into that.
Oh, before we dig too deep into it,
go
I want
ahead.
to hear what Ben
go ahead,
thinks.
Ben. Yeah.
So I'm gonna come in more negative than both of you on this one. I did not have a good time with this movie, and it's not to say that it's bad. I'm not gonna go, deep down, but I can say that there was this movie has moments of greatness, true moments of greatness where I feel so invested, but those moments are very far apart.
What's one you're thinking of?
I'm gonna mention it after this.
Okay.
After my summary, but I think that this movie has moments of greatness, but I think it falls flat in many, many aspects. Ethan, I agree with your critique, and it's in contrast to Micah's point. This movie reminds me of if the Avengers existed without any of the other solo films. So it comes in and you don't have a Thor film, and you don't have an Iron Man film, and you don't have a Captain America film, and all of these characters just show up. As an X-Men fan from the comics, you know who these characters are, but the problem is you don't care about the characters. So when they're doing things on screen, it may look cool, but to me, I feel absolutely nothing. The only characters that I feel who actually do give a very genuine performance and who I actually care about are Eric and Charles. And that's about it for me.
Same note.
No Raven either?
Not even Raven. I think Raven falls very as flat as she has. I like her in even First Class, and I also like her in Days of Future Past, but I do not like Raven.
I like the implications of her character in this movie.
So like what?
I liked how this is a different timeline.
Yep.
They can take as many changes as they want, and the fans could accept it because it's a different timeline. We already saw what the X-Men were. We saw like a more true to the comics, true to like main storyline X-Men from original.
More grounded.
Yeah, more
version.
grounded X-Men. And we saw how these characters were. We saw they played out. And now we get to see some characters live completely different lives in this. We see Angel, who's playing a villain now. We see Raven, who's playing... she doesn't want to be a hero, but people look up to her. All of those X-Men, when she changed back into her Raven form, or her Mystique form, she was like, all the kids were amazed that, wow, she's here. Like, this is the person I've looked up to my whole life. For the past 10 years, she's been in and out of hiding and rescuing these mutants and being a hero, but she doesn't see herself as one. That's really cool to me. I don't want to dig too deep into her character right now, but
so that's another point. You talk about the how the story flows and the timeline. I think even this movie is confused on many aspects of this.
I got an interjection, all right?
Okay.
So let's apply. There was a peak film that recently came out called The Flash. And if we take that time travel logic of The Flash and apply it to the X-Men timeline, I think all your problems are solved, man.
Really?
So, yeah. So,
Okay, I'm ready for this.
Remember, we have Michael Keaton with the spaghetti. He said when you travel back in time, you not only create an alternate future, you create an alternate past. That's what we see going on in this.
Oh, you got the
in this movie.
flashpoints?
Oh yeah. There's an alternate Flash in here too.
So my one big
running
one,
around.
and maybe it does solve this, but my one
No, it
big
doesn't.
one.
It makes no
was
sense.
right,
but
Harry.
I just wanted to talk about the Flash.
It's just I don't. There's so much in this movie, and my biggest critique is Apocalypse. He is so not threatening, and Oscar Isaac, who is usually great. I love Oscar Isaac, even in the sequels. I will say, he is
Star Wars
so
sequels, by the way.
atrocious in this movie. I absolutely hate Apocalypse. He is one of the worst villains that I think we've seen on this list. I know it's not the most popular opinion, but I think he misses the mark at being intimidating so bad, and it starts quickly with him putting his hand on the TV and saying,
scene, yeah.
Don't you love that he learns like the knowledge of the world,
Everything.
but is fully just American history and fully just in English?
To me, and all of his four horsemen are, I don't care about any of them except for Magneto. So I have many issues with it that we are going to get into, but I want to start positive because the movie, in my opinion, starts pretty positive. The one scene that I will say that was an absolute standout, it deserves to be in a much better movie, is the forest scene.
Mag's pretty neato, you know?
Magneto's
Holy
Logan
cow.
scene.
No, listen, all right.
That's a good scene, yeah.
One of the most emotional scenes I think we've seen in this X-Men whole trilogy, I guess. Oh my goodness, holy cow. Did I actually start to tear up for
My
a second?
babies.
Michael Fassbender was so good. He delivered. I mean, come on, right?
I didn't realize at first that his daughter and his wife got shot. I thought it was just his daughter, and I'm like, man, that sucks. And
What a
then
shot.
it panned out, and it was both of them dead, and I was like, wow, that is crazy. But that's my biggest critique with this movie is they do Magneto so good in the first half. They really do. He is on a trajectory that is so much different than what we've seen from him before.
Yes.
And this is the sixth movie where Magneto is just this villain again. He has the same arc, same deprogression. What do you call that?
I saw a review online where it
dissension.
said this movie is Magneto, don't do that, part 4 or whatever.
Yes.
Part 6, man.
Part 6.
Yeah.
Every movie is just Magneto versus X-Men in some capacity. Now, yes, you have Apocalypse thrown in there. And I think as far as a threat standpoint goes, they establish him as a threat, in my opinion. The way he infiltrates Cerebro and takes a hold of Charles, that is such a huge display of powers.
That was really cool.
But I think apart from him being his powers are never defined. It's unclear how powerful this guy is and why you see him in scenes just melting the floor. Why doesn't he just melt the floor around every human and save all the mutants? His powers you need to know where the line ends. And I feel like he's just infinitely powerful. But as far as being a threat goes, you do feel like going into that final act, okay, how are they going to take him down? But how are they going to take him down? Oh, it's just the Phoenix, just and then he's dead.
The concept of him was pretty cool, though. I liked how it was the Egyptian gods were all based on this dude. That was pretty
The
cool.
opening sequence is epic.
Yeah, the opening sequence. I texted you guys
good.
as soon as I was watching. I was like, dude, this opening sequence is kind of sick.
Yeah.
And seeing how all of these, I'm assuming they were like Israelites or something. They were all killing this. They were like, false god. And they destroyed the pyramid over the... that was pretty sick.
It was. And
the
then how it
CGI
goes
is pretty good,
into the opening logos.
Oh, the opening. And then we get a crash course of all of history that's going on past this. And
Very, very cool.
And it kind of reminds you of what Apocalypse is going to be seeing later on. Because he's like, oh, I saw all of human history. Let's take away what they think is powerful. These weapons, these bombs, these... No more swords, no more spears. I will disarm them, and then they'll have no fight against me.
The problem is I just don't take him seriously because of the way he looks. He is not an intimidating Thanos. Yes, the threat he presents to the world and the X-Men, yes, that makes sense to me. But I don't feel that imposing Darth Vader Thanos level threat because he doesn't carry himself at. The dude is as tall, if not even shorter than some of the other X-Men.
His height is a big thing. The most intimidating he is size-wise is when him and Charles are in each other's minds.
Which is a cool scene.
And they're fighting in there. That is how he's supposed to look size-wise. He's supposed to be like, I'm not sure on the actual height, but he's supposed to be like Hulk size guy. Like think of the Dark Side in whatever Snyder movie. Think of him.
That's a good way of looking
the
at it.
size of that you want him to be, and he's just he's a normal dude. He's
Do you know how tall Oscar Isaac is?
Go ahead.
I think he's
5'6".
5'9".
5'9". Like, I'm sorry.
He's not short,
Dude,
but like he's not tall.
Let's go.
And
He's the same height as me.
I'm not picking on
Shout out.
the height here. I'm picking on how they present it in the film. And I don't see him as threatening. He's just another bad guy. But then he is disintegrating people with a thought.
Who would win, Thanos or Apocalypse? I brought it up
Apocalypse
earlier.
would win.
Apocalypse
I think
would win?
Apocalypse would win. But
With
who do I
Infinity
think
Gauntlet?
is...
Five stone Infinity Gauntlet?
Oh, okay. Well, with the Infinity Gauntlet, guaranteed Thanos wins.
Okay. What about like 4 or 3? Okay.
6 stone.
We're going too far.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
I don't know. I don't feel the threat personally against the X-Men that Apocalypse brings in this movie. He's not good. There's some really cheesy lines, and I see Oscar Isaac there. His eyes, they just look like human eyes, man.
Dreamy.
I don't. Well,
I think
mean,
You do have a big,
I do have a
big dreamy picture of
Isaac.
Oscar Isaac just looking right at me. It's got good stubble going on. I like it.
It's motivation.
I
is
like
motivational.
Apocalypse, how he brings out the villain in these characters. He brings out the strongest abilities of... By himself, he is not as threatening, but with that team he builds up, in that final battle, it showcases how brutal Angel can be. It shows the lightsaber girl wasn't that great, but whatever.
Psylocke,
He powers up he powers up Magneto. He powers up the Cerebro. That was pretty cool. How
cool.
he just was able to control. I'm being connected, or whatever he said, and thanks for letting me in. Like that. All right, that was pretty sick. How he was able to just take these people's powers and run with them.
It's not bad.
He's threatening by association.
Yeah, and him giving the I don't care about any of his cronies. Storm is super weak. Her accent's horribly weak.
What's up with that?
It's really bad.
Oh yeah, seeing how Storm is a villain though too. That's cool.
There is a scene, and I watched. Sam walked in, and we were watching. It was a scene, and he was sitting there with Psylocke and Storm, and they were both sitting there, and he was forging some the outfit of Angel, just sitting there, and they were all just standing there in a circle, and the other two were watching him, and I was like, did he do that with all of their outfits? Like, imagine him designing Psylocke's outfit,
He was doing what?
the most unintimidating thing. Like,
he did this.
I don't know.
I wrote down his villain powers are to make cool suits.
Guys,
But that's the thing.
Well, because you see him forge Magneto's helmet later. So
Sometimes-
the
here's a
implication
helmet from your past.
is everything he's done.
This is what they took
he's
away
just
from you.
forged
Yeah.
from the ground. Yeah.
So I'm being too negative here. Like you guys, Ethan, you're not as hot at it, but you like this movie, and Micah, you really like this movie. So let's do positive. Like, what do you really like?
Don't understand why this is the most hated X-Men.
I don't think it's the worst X-Men movie for sure.
This is not the
No,
worst
I don't
X-Men
think
movie.
that. But it's definitely down there.
As a group movie, so this isn't Avengers level.
No.
Is it Justice League level? Because you said something that I've heard an argument for the Justice League. They didn't have their individual movies before this, before Snyderverse. What do you think about that? Do you think that this handled it better than, I mean, sure, original release Justice League? Sure,
is this better
but,
than Snyderverse? Can me and you agree?
Yeah,
and
is this
just
better than Snyder
just a
League?
bash? Yeah. I mean, let's do it. Let's say that.
So Snyderverse is way better. Than
The
this
hard,
movie.
his hard cracking. He's trying to.
Did Wonder Woman come out before or after BVS?
After BVS,
After
before
BVS.
Justice League.
Do you
Wonder
think that-
Woman was the one solo film that
Do you
came
think
out.
that they showed Wonder Woman better in BVS than some characters in? Like, I'm trying to relate it to a different level.
No, yeah, no, for sure. And I see where this comparison is. It's just the Justice League movie is 4 hours, and this is 2.5. You have an hour and a half more to develop the characters. Now, in a perfect world, yeah, I want my Flash movie before. I want my Cyborg movie. I want my Aquaman movie before my team up
We
movie.
wouldn't have gotten to Justice League if those movies came out first.
Well, I mean, in a the DCU was a mess. Coming from a fan, it was a mess.
DCU is
Could have
a
been-
mess.
It's a
Currently.
popular one is it's in shambles, and I love that one. But I think Wonder Woman in BVS is kind of there, and then but I like the way it handles Wonder Woman in that one, giving her one of the most epic moments. And I also think BVS is a much more focused story than this. Ethan is right. This has a lot of characters. In the intro, you are introduced to Cyclops and Jean Grey, as well as bringing characters back like Eric and Charles. Like, there's
It
a lot.
is so funny. This is our 6th like big X-Men movie. What, 9th if we count all the other spin-offs. But why in this movie are they still treating it like we've never seen an X-Men movie before? Oh, that's Jean Grey. I have telekinesis.
She has night
Yeah,
tremors.
we know this, okay?
There's a
explaining
girl
powers.
who's freaking out down the hall. Who could it be?
Yeah.
Like, we know this. This is the 6th movie. We get it, okay? It felt like, all right, this one has to end like an origin story. That's how it felt. The ending was, you guys are the X-Men. Okay, yeah. How
about those I-beams that
That's relevant. That's so cool.
those landed? I was like,
I actually like that. Yeah.
Let's go.
Also, can you?
it's the X-Men. They're back.
I have a question, gentlemen. Can you answer me this one?
Yeah.
Can you answer me this question? What in the world is Moira McTaggart's role? What is her
Why did
purpose
she suit
in this
up?
role?
Here.
Why is she here?
I made a note, okay?
You point out some bad things.
It was
man.
for this scene. I wrote Chariz Xavier. That is for him.
I've checked her out.
Learning
twice.
it up.
I mean,
Okay.
I've checked her out. I mean, looked up
Nice.
her brain.
Nice meeting you for the first time.
Yeah, dude. Come on. There.
This is so
I don't know.
different from the
Well,
last.
what did she do in the first one? Either when I saw her, it's always that thing when you're watching an X-Men movie. Okay, who?
I know that actor.
I know
I've seen
who
that actor
is.
in a movie before.
And I think, oh yeah, she's a woman who had to get in her underwear to infiltrate in the opening scene of the other one.
I'll have to rewatch that.
Yes. I remember.
I'm like, wait
now.
a second. Oh yeah, I know who she is. But then it's like they go to the classic amnesia plot.
Right.
Oh yeah, I wiped her brain.
And also,
I'm on a
she
beach
knew,
in
if I
Panama.
recall correctly, she knew who Charles Xavier was. Now, he wiped her mind of the X-Men stuff, but at the end of First Class, like, she is aware of who Charles Xavier is. Like, she remembers that she met him. And in this movie, she has no idea who he is. She's never met him. Oh, I read your stuff before, but she has no idea who he is.
Yeah, but I
I
think
have level 5 clearance.
that worked. Yeah.
Continuity error. Another huge one is
Remember, go back to the spaghetti strands.
You're right.
You
You're right.
changed the
But I
past
can't
by
help-
changing the future.
I'm sorry, I can't help overlooking the fact that Mystique took Wolverine in Days of Future Past, and now actually no, Stryker does have Wolverine. He is in the Weapon X program. Like,
So that means that Raven took Wolverine as Stryker to Stryker's base and then left. Stryker showed up. He's like, "Whoa, we
Look at
caught
us."
Logan."
I'll tell you what, though, as someone who has never seen this movie, I was like, oh yeah, X-Men, Days of Future Past, and
went
then
over my
Logan.
head, though.
He's out. He's not in this movie. So I'm like, who's gonna come out of this? They even said they turned him into a weapon, and I'm like, yo, is this Juggernaut?
so you didn't know?
I had no idea it was.
Oh, so
Wolverine.
that must have been epic.
It was so cool. Yeah.
Dude, I'm gonna say it later, but Logan, man.
Listen, there are 3 scenes in this movie that belong in a better movie. It's the opening scene in the woods with Magneto. It is the Quicksilver scene in this movie, and it's the Logan scene in Alkali Lake. Like, holy crap.
That's the thing. I was so excited going into this movie is like, all right, what did I love about Days of Future Past that we'll get in this one? You have Evan Peters right in the poster. I'm like, yes, I love Evan Peters Quicksilver. It's one of probably my second favorite, maybe third. He's one of the top 5
He's so
easy
good.
castings of the X-Men trilogy, or X-Men. This is the wrapping of this trilogy, but I'm like, all right, we get more of him. But then there are like 13 other mutants they throw in here that I don't care about.
Right.
I would have loved to have had Evan Peters as like a focal X-Men in this movie, because the scenes we do get with him are super sick.
Yeah,
And-
one where he's like struggling with his dad is Magneto,
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
just wants to tell him so bad, but he can't.
That's
you have that
another.
family dynamic there, and they don't really tap into it because
Why? Why don't they do that? I'm here for my family too.
I'm here for
Bro, it's your dad. That's
My family
that's
too.
an interesting thing.
Well,
right
because
there.
that's something
he
that-
just lost his family. He has part of his family back now. It's his son. Like, tap into that, please.
they want to put that in the next movie. They
Dark
had
Phoenix,
to keep
man?
some things, and
Spoiler alert, they don't.
I know they don't. But
I've never seen that one either.
Oh,
so
man.
I think my mind blocked it out
Dark Phoenix.
as if I were in a car accident or something. It just trauma blocked it.
Oh man.
I don't know what the character's name is, but I've got one specific scene that stands out to me as pretty much the only scene that bored me in this movie. And that's whenever they're at that, like, I don't even know what it was, like a shop. There's that bald dude who's standing behind the counter. He's like,
Oh yes.
I
yeah.
know where a bunch of mutants are.
Oh yeah, Caliban. We're gonna
Khajiit
see
has
him in
wares if
Logan.
you have coin, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know who that guy
Mutant
was.
Origin Store.
Mutant broker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't care about those scenes at all. I just wanted him to move.
Yeah.
That was the only character where I'm like, I don't care about you. Get out.
Yeah.
Besides that, I
Yeah.
kind of love this movie
Go into why you like this
I
movie.
kinda love this movie.
I've been too negative.
because it keeps you entertained the whole time. It's always introducing new characters. It's always giving me reasons to love these characters. I love Cyclops' intro in this movie. You see the point where he gets his laser vision.
That's
You
really
see-
good. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just in class and they drop the name Scott and you're like, oh, there he is. Okay, when's it gonna happen? And he's like itching his eyes. Oh, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. You checking out my girl? No, my eyes are just really itchy. Something is really wrong. Can I go to the bathroom? Go to the principal's office, wherever. Yeah. Are you crying?
In that scene, I wrote down: teachers in movies never know when class is going to end.
Oh no.
Seriously.
Yeah, you go to the bathroom, bell rings, like what?
In school for me, if we were 5 minutes from the bell, if we were 10 minutes from the bell, 15 minutes, they wouldn't let us
You're
go.
not going to the bathroom.
No, you're
Yeah.
gonna wait till passing
Agreed.
period.
Yep.
But keep going, Micah.
Yeah, and then he gets to the bathroom, and then what's his name? I don't know. Flash Thompson shows up, and he's like, "You crying already? I haven't even beat you up." Scott's got his head in his hands, and he's like, "I'm not crying, man. I just really itch so bad."
No, yeah, that's the cool part
That was
about
cool, though.
these movies is they take these people with extraordinary gifts,
Yeah.
and they highlight like the curse of it, like how this would ruin you. Like now he's just got to wear a bandana or freaking sunglasses. You know, that's
Yeah,
his
and
life
seeing
now.
His
Sunglasses.
first shots.
His Ray-Bans.
He
My
shoots
bad.
up. in the other movies it's Oakley's. You notice that?
Oh.
So in this one it's Ray-Bans.
That's some progression.
That's
I like
that's
seeing
the spaghetti
It was
crossing.
a different timeline.
Yeah, the
I
X.
liked seeing his first shots with the laser eyes. So in the bathroom when he shoots the stall door onto Flash Thompson onto the wall, and then onto the ceiling, and then when he goes to the House of X or whatever it's called, the mansion, and he shoots that tree down. He's like, "My father pledged that tree."
Yeah. I was very intrigued this whole movie. All right. I know on the poster, on the cover, Charles is bald. All right. Let me
Bald. Wait, hold on.
let me see.
Bald and what? Bald and in the chair. That's important.
Right.
Bald in the chair, and he's got his suit on.
Since you've grabbed your 4K, Micah, would you mind reading a few things off of this 4K for
Yeah.
us?
I went into this movie with very low expectations. I was like, all right, this is gonna be another. What was the last movie where I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be bad? Dark World. I was like, all right, people hate this movie.
It's been a while since. Yeah.
It's been a while since
True
Dark
bad,
World.
yeah.
People were like, yeah, this movie is trash. If you can avoid it like the plague. So I was reading this box and I said, one of the coolest superhero movies of the decade. And that's from Richard Ropert of Chicago Sun-Times.
Now, Micah, you enjoy this movie, but that's a bold claim.
That's a
right?
bold claim for
Come on.
one of the coolest superhero movies I think I said of all time before, of the decade. Sorry. So 6 years ago, what came out 6 years ago? X-Men: The Last Stand. So that's the furthest. That's 2006. Is it really cooler than the next movie, Ghost Rider?
Oh, I think
It's a tough one, man. I don't think so.
But we've got all of Phase 1, all of Phase 2, Civil War.
I think
We've got
he's
like
writing this fresh off of Civil War, dude.
Not all-
we got
not-
Spider-Man 3
keep in
in
mind,
there.
not all of Phase 1. You had Iron Man, and then you had Hulk that were not quite in the decade.
Yeah, it was. This is 2006. This is 2016.
Mm-hmm.
10 years ago, 2006.
No, I believe he's
the
talking
turn, the
2010
2010, that would be the line.
Oh, of the decade.
This
Okay.
decade, yeah.
Decade.
So from 2010, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3,
We
okay.
haven't even dipped into DC.
Spirit
either.
of
Like,
Vengeance. When
The
did
Avengers.
Dark Knight Rises, when did that come out?
Yeah, the Avengers. That's all you have to say.
Like,
the
yeah,
Avengers.
the Avengers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here's another one. Massively entertaining. It is
Here's the
true.
thing.
It was massively entertaining.
Do you know how much stock I put into writing reviews on a DVD cover? Absolutely
See,
zero.
my
They
favorite
always
part
are
is you
gonna
got to
put-
read the source that they
Oh, yeah,
quote
what'd
on
it say?
these.
It said, it's kind of hard to see. I think they did that on purpose. I mean,
No, look at the front one. What
Hang
does the
on.
front
The
one
front
say?
one was the Chicago Sun-Times.
Is Daredevil up there? Is your Daredevil
This
DVD up
is-
there, Micah?
Yeah, it is.
I'm
Tim
gonna get that, Ethan. I want to hear
something.
I know
of
there's
Screen
something on the
International.
Daredevil DVD that says it's like this
The
is
greatest
so
movie of all
entertaining. And let me tell you,
You know
something.
what? Do you see a quote on here, Micah? On the Daredevil Blu-ray?
Wait, let me give it another back in front.
I did not have a quote.
I think they couldn't.
It says the ultimate high definition experience
All
because it's a
right.
Blu-ray.
So it's talking about the Blu-ray.
But no one
left a
had
review
positive
of-
quote
For all you
about
Daredevil fans out there,
Daredevil fans attacking us on
All
TikTok.
right, one more. Get Electra real quick.
Get up.
Electra.
there's no way
Last one.
Elektra has
Last one will
something
do.
on there. That
One of the movies of the decade.
it does?
Okay.
No way.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
I mean, it's got like the thing, right? Like where it
Howard
talks
the
about
Duck.
the little blurb. Howard the Duck's got
No,
something,
the
right?
4Ks usually don't. It's usually just a box art.
But this is a 4K. X-Men
No,
Apocalypse?
the Howard the Duck one.
Oh, okay.
The re-release of the 4K usually doesn't have it. It's usually a new release 4K
Unbelievable,
that
guys.
has.
I never paid attention to these things before.
Yeah. What a
From first to worst, bros.
what a cool tangent we've just gone on here.
Maybe I'll put that back real quick.
All because of the reviews on X-Men Apocalypse 4K.
Let's look at, for example, Logan says high octane action, unexpectedly moving.
Well, okay, Logan, from what I remember, deserves
Is
the praise.
unexpectedly.
I guess
moving.
the blurbs really aren't that telling. High octane action, unexpectedly moving. That's like most movies, right?
I don't know. Well, definitely not unexpectedly moving. This movie did not move me very much.
It moved me to watch it for the podcast.
Well, yeah, but that's because we're doing this epic Marvel movie marathon. Every movie I am so excited to dive into, just because we get to sit here and talk about it.
This is one of the weaker Stan Lee cameos. Gotta say.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
He doesn't even say anything.
I don't even remember.
Where was it?
The nuke's launching. He's
yeah.
just the old guy hugging his squeeze,
I missed it.
looking up, and
I
the
didn't
nukes
see
are
it.
reflected in
Yeah.
his
remember it.
Wow.
sunglasses.
I was at the movie ended. I'm like, wow, no Stan Lee cameo. Like I made a mental note, but
Really?
here I am. I just missed it.
Yeah, he definitely showed up. It was a wide shot, and then they panned into a close-up shot, but you can tell they didn't film a close-up shot. They just zoomed in from the shot that
Kind
they
of like
had.
when I do editing the podcast.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, crop a zoom. Yeah, there we
You
go.
see, it's
Perfect.
it's not bad when you're a low-level YouTuber, but
Low
when you're
level.
making a
We're high level,
when
dude.
You're making a
we're
peak level.
we're
$200
knocking on
million
500 subs.
budget film. Speaking of, hold on, what was the budget for this film?
Oh,
Micah?
yeah, let me pull this up.
What was the budget? I want to know what this movie was made for, because there were certain scenes that didn't impress me as far as CGI.
All right, the budget for this movie was $178 million. This was a little more than some other movies.
And how much did it make?
542.
Wow.
Iron Man made 585.
Yeah, but-
Ant-Man made 518.
Yeah, but you're
Across the Spider-Verse, before it's not the updated number, but from what I have, it's at 493.
Across the Spider-Verse is
Did that make like
I'm
six-
pretty sure it's at like 800 million now.
8 now. I have to
Maybe
update
7.
that. Quantumania made 475.
Well,
Thor made 449. So this is one of the movies of all time.
it is one of the movies of all time.
It definitely didn't perform outstandingly. It didn't perform very bad. It made 3 times its budget. So it was a success.
Listen, man, it definitely has its fans. All right, I'm gonna sit here as a detractor from this movie, but I'm not gonna fault you for liking this movie. Like, I was listening to Chris Stuckman on the way here. I always like to indulge one of the experts, I think, on YouTube. And
experts?
he well, I mean, we're
Ex-
obviously the most expert at
Experts, Ben, you missed it.
and
Come
also
on.
yes, experts.
X-Men.
This movie is definitely not an expert in giving us X-Men
Yeah.
like.
That's what's so upsetting about it is if we're tracking Bryan Singer's X-Men career, right? He did that first kick at it, he's still learning, but for the most part, a super enjoyable film. Second one, we really loved this. I just re-listened to our X2 podcast for shorts material. We loved that movie. That's a good movie. And then Brett Ratner came in for The Last Stand, so Bryan Singer did not get to finish that trilogy, and then he wasn't there for First Class. I think that was Matthew Vaughn. He was in there. So then his third movie was Days of Future Past, and that's in our top 5. Dude. That movie is so good. Mm-hmm. So of course, going into Apocalypse, we're jazzed out of our minds. Like, all right, what does Bryan Singer have for us this time? This build off of Days of Future Past, but it fizzles out.
That's what happened.
There's no movie that comes out with the X-Men franchise we're like, yep, it's dead on arrival. But this is the start of the fizz because it started to lose momentum, and then you get Dark Phoenix, which I haven't seen, but
the guy who wrote this movie. So there were 4 people who wrote this movie. There was Bryan Singer, Simon Kinberg, remember that name, Michael Dougherty, and Dan Harris. Simon Kinberg went on to direct and write our favorite Dark Phoenix,
his feature film debut. Might I add?
Amazing.
It's going to be interesting. I think.
But this is Bryan Singer's last appearance on our podcast, at least for a while. I don't know if he's coming back.
Okay, I will say this: he has been a staple in bringing the comic book movie genre to the way it is today. Like, he's a pretty big name, and I think I really give props to Bryan Singer for a lot of what he's done.
He's currently working on a documentary to disprove the allegations against him. So
what happened? I didn't know anything about it. Whoa.
There's a few sexual allegations
really?
against him.
I did not know that.
Yeah. People.
Dude, look at him.
People really hate.
Look at that dude.
People despise the man online for sure. And I think when we get into Dark Phoenix, that real life drama will seep into what's going on.
But Superman
is that why he
Returns,
wasn't
too?
a part of Dark Phoenix? That makes sense. I never knew the reason.
Also, he was
Okay.
working on Bohemian Rhapsody at the time, so.
I want to mention a scene that we kind of glossed over. We didn't really gloss over it. I kind of mentioned it. I want to.
Oh, he directed.
I did not really expect them to top the Quicksilver scene underneath the bunker,
I did not expect that.
and they did. I feel like I might
That was
be. I might be
good.
preaching heresy here, but I think this is better than the
it's a
first
longer
one.
cut, right?
No, am I wrong here?
I prefer the kitchen scene
do?
over this
Okay.
one just because once again the stakes are lower. I like the grounded nature. I mean, yeah, they're time traveling, but I like the grounded nature of that and it's the first time we see it. And I think they did more practical shots in the kitchen scene as opposed to this one. This one felt a lot.
There's a lot of CGI.
It's hard to, when they do a great scene like that and the bomb's exploding, it's hard to really grasp. Okay, my brain just goes to, man, this guy is so fast. And it kind of pulls me out of the movie and the rest of the movie he's in, where they kind of dumb him down for the rest of the movie, where he is so fast in this movie. But it's a really cool sequence, but I prefer the kitchen one
Yeah,
a
for the
little
kitchen
more.
one, they actually had him run around real fast. This one, they just
Yeah.
his legs got tired.
No, but the kitchen one, there was an actual camera. They filmed the kitchen. They CGI'd all the utensils and water in, but then they had a separate shot of him running on the green screen. So, yeah. Go ahead.
I did like how they gave him more action in this movie. So, for example, in the Apocalypse fight, when he's running around him,
yeah.
they give him that kind of Superman thing in Snyder League,
Yeah.
where Apocalypse catches up with his eyes, and then does this catches his leg in sand, and then breaks his leg.
Yeah.
That was brutal.
That was
Yeah, it
good.
was
I
good.
liked that a lot.
That was, I think that was really good. And going back to saving from the house, I liked. So he saves everybody. He's going through and he does little quips with all the different characters. There's the dog eating the pizza. There's the
really
the
fun
makeout
sequence.
scene
Yeah.
where the guy's got
makeout
his
scene
tongue
is
out and then
Yes. But he's like 4 feet away.
yeah, he's like
the approach.
Dude,
so
holy
good.
God.
He
Uh,
chugs the soda.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so many little things in that scene that you can pick apart and be like, oh, this is great. And I thought about this scene.
It's so funny to think about how if he wasn't there, Havoc would have just murdered all these X-Men.
And then what they do is what Marvel does is they take a serious scene and they undercut it with a joke. What they did here was they took the funny scene of everyone being rescued from this bomb, and then they undercut it with a serious part. Because they say, oh yeah, I think I got everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see my brother? Was he in there? He was the
He
closest
got-
to the blast.
Yeah. He got an epic send-off, though. When Charles is like, he's like, all right, wreak havoc.
And
Why
in
was
that
that
moment,
playing right there?
Yeah.
What?
I remember that his name was Havoc in
that
that
moment,
moment.
yeah.
Because I forgot that character was in First Class.
Yeah.
I forgot about him. I'm
I
not
don't
gonna
remember
lie.
him in first class.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was
see,
one.
that's
He
what
was
I'm
the
saying.
one of the main survivors in First
I
Class.
don't
I
remember.
thought it was Cyclops. in
Remember,
First Class.
he has the wingsuit and he screams at the water and he flies.
That was him.
Yeah, same guy. No, was it? No,
Did he
that
have a
was
beam?
that was Screech.
That
no,
was Flying Squirrel Girl.
no. Remember, he was someone with a big
Wait,
laser on his
what
chest.
was it? What was that one guy's name? Darwin?
Darwin that just exploded.
Was that Darwin?
Yeah, that exploded.
Yeah.
That
Who could
guy, I
adapt
hear
to
in the
everything.
comics, he's one of the greatest
He can adapt to
X-Men
anything.
of all
yeah.
time because his power set is so unique. Like there's a comic of him with he's fighting Hulk, and his body adapts him to teleport because that's his best scenario. But instead, he ignites himself in
On
that
fire
movie
and dies.
That's better
Yeah.
than teleporting.
It's a better. I don't know, man. I just remember.
We should
laughing at
rewatch
that.
First Class.
Oh my God.
Specifically, the scene where they give themselves names.
Just that. Oh,
Yeah, just that scene.
That's a good.
I'm
one.
glad. All right, X-Men has come a long way.
Very long way.
X-Men has come a long way. We can agree on that.
Yeah, they
And
still- hold
with
up.
this movie. Hold on. No, you hold on. I was talking. This is probably the X-Men movie with the least amount of cringe lines. Can you agree?
Not Days of
No.
Future Past is
Really?
less.
No,
Yeah.
Days of Future
Oh.
Past. And
I
even
feel like
X2.
Oscar Isaac had some. Okay, but
Storm, every line that she had.
okay.
I think all the First Class energy
didn't-
that seeped into this movie was
I didn't physically cringe at any line. I was like, okay, yeah, that didn't go over as well, but it was one line out of a whole
A
scene.
lot of Charles Xavier's lines were pretty.
His were like, okay, this is them trying to be guardians here,
Like I didn't.
and it doesn't work.
It felt very. A writer sat down and wrote that. All right, Oscar-winning James McAvoy, say this line. It didn't really feel natural.
James McAvoy went on screen. I was watching with Rebecca, and she's like, "Oh, I know that guy. I like him."
So he is really good in Split, and I think he's not bad in these
I
movies.
gotta rewatch those movies.
But
He's good in these.
Split is.
I
That's where
watched
his acting
Signs.
really.
Signs is good.
Signs is good. Unbreakable is another really good one. Go on an M. Night Shyamalan.
There's a third one. I
tangent
forgot what the
here.
third one is.
Mr. Glass is just the,
Glass,
the,
yeah,
the
I haven't
third
seen that
one.
either.
The secret trilogy of M. Night Shyamalan. But anyway,
Yeah, Secret.
is there anything else we want to mention here besides the epic line at the end between Charles and Eric?
I think
What
the
do you do?
absolute
What do you do?
coolest display of powers in this movie is the fact that at the end, Gene and Michael Fassbender's Magneto magically get wicked construction abilities, and they are reconstructing the X Mansion from so far away.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
You're not giving him enough credit.
Defend this really bad scene.
Where did Eric work for 10 years? Hold on.
Yes, but
In a steel mill.
In a steel mill. He knows construction.
But the watch the scene again and think logically why that was the best move to build the X Mansion, and how it
so
looked.
they can have it for the next movie.
Like it would be if they had Quicksilver running around there with a hammer and like a drill. Yeah, okay, I'd believe that. But it was like it looked like when you build Legos in Lego Star Wars, the way that yeah,
Those Lego
exactly.
Star Wars commercials. Build the Lego Millennium Falcon.
It's they blow up the X Mansion, and then at the end they're like, well, shoot,
Like, what was the point of blowing it up?
that was kind of stupid. Let's
Build it back.
build it back.
We didn't give enough credit to the Eric Lensher parts in the beginning.
True.
So
Yeah.
I was saying the line at the end between Eric and Charles mirrors the scene at the end of X2. I feel a great swell of pity for the man who shows up to my school armed like that. They say that exact line, the two, in X2, which was a nice callback, I will say. Same line, Bryan Singer. I'm not going
Different
to fault
timeline,
him.
though. And I think that's really cool how there are similarities. I mean, yeah, it's writing, but I think it's cool how there are these spaghetti noodles, right?
Yeah,
Let's go back to Flash.
Yes.
These spaghetti noodles making X's.
The X-Men.
The X noodles.
Yes, the
Yes.
X noodles.
Yes. It's just, I don't know. My main thing is during this movie, I don't care that much. I don't care about many of the
It
things
is
that
like
are happening.
this is the point where what a lot of people say about Marvel movies is they're formulaic.
Yeah.
This movie, I really felt that the X-Men movies had gotten so formulaic.
Yes.
This is the sixth time you're kind of doing this. Magneto toes the line of being a good guy. Him and Charles have a relationship. Magneto's a bad guy. Then maybe at the end he kind of redeems himself and he's not so bad.
Magneto's one bad day story.
Yeah,
For the
yeah.
Sixth time.
The sixth time, yeah. But I like what you said. The opening stuff with Magneto, I'm like, wow, this is
Yeah.
so much better than I thought it would be. And specifically when he tells his daughter, he's like, she asks him, are they going to take you from me? And he says, no. And then a scene later, the government's there. They're taking him from her. And she's so upset.
She uses her Snow White powers.
Yeah, the birds start going crazy.
Is
and
that
then,
Wanda? Is that supposed to be Wanda?
nah, that's
Scarlet Witch?
no, because
No.
we saw Wanda in the previous movie with
Yes,
Evan Peters.
my mistake. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right. You're right.
She wasn't in this movie. That's sad.
So, gentlemen, if we had to think of a favorite scene from this movie, and in my opinion, it's not the greatest movie, but it definitely has some very memorable scenes, some very great scenes from X-Men Apocalypse. If you had to narrow it down, what would be your favorite scene, Mr. Wenslaw?
Jumping right to me. Definitely the scene when they're constructing the house is so good.
And that one is bad. There's some shoddy CGI there too, I think.
I think they were kind of running on a budget there. They're
So
like, we got a couple stunts.
hoping are one of you two gonna take the mansion scene? because I had another scene I'll
The one
go
where
into.
they're building?
No, the
Listen, I'll go last, and if neither of you take it, I will.
okay. So I'll go the Cerebro infiltration. I think that is a really cool sequence where,
sick.
yeah, Apocalypse gets into, because we know like in every X-Men movie, there's a formula. All right, how are they gonna cripple Charles, make him
Even
useless?
further.
Right.
But this, I think, was one of the more original ways to do it. Is you have
You're right.
Apocalypse take control of Cerebro, this thing that is exclusively Charles's thing, this thing that makes him the single most powerful guy. Oh, like that is when Apocalypse became intimidating, is when that happened, when he overtook Cerebro, and then you have it followed up by the great wreak havoc line, and then it all rolls into that the mansion blowing up. But I like
Such a good
Charles, who is this huge threat. He's like taken advantage of, he's taken control of, and I think that is really, really cool.
You know,
And I like how it goes from there, and he uses the powers that Charles has to go out into the world and control all the minds of the mutants throughout the
Turn on the
world,
keys.
to turn the keys to get rid of all the nukes. Yeah, I really like that scene.
I think something that was really cool that wasn't spoken in this movie was the effect of the flashpoint of
The
Mystique.
spaghetti.
Yeah, the spaghetti of Mystique saving the president from the evil mutants,
Yeah.
proving mutants' worth in society, thus making Charles's school for the gifted not a hidden school. I think that's super cool. So we see in the original trilogy that Charles is, they can't let
Have
the
you-
government know that this is
Have you
here.
tried not being a mutant?
And what?
That's a quote
No,
from X2.
from X2?
Yeah, when the moms find out their son's a mutant. Have
Oh,
you,
Pretty
yeah.
sure it's Iceman,
have you
right?
tried not
Yeah.
being a mutant?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bobby Drake.
And
Bobby Drake.
there are little things that show that the government is supporting this development of mutant supporting, right? There's Cerebro having a bit higher budget of a design, right? It's more futuristic. It looks cooler. It works better. What?
I don't think Cerebro looks very cool in this. I'm gonna be honest.
Well, it looks different.
Cerebro-
It's not,
In my
it's not a
opinion-
big old box.
In my
it's
opinion,
slimmer.
I think Cerebro looks pretty stupid and fake.
Even
and
the
plastic.
X-Men ship looks more modern than the one that they showed
That I
in the
agree with.
original
Yep.
trilogy. You can tell that there's differences in these timelines. It's
Spaghetti
not
timeline,
just
yeah.
reset the timeline, and then it's just the same thing but with different characters. It's different.
It's different, man. What is your favorite different scene in this movie?
Favorite different scene?
in this movie, Micah?
Well, we almost got Naked Logan again.
Oh man.
That would've
yeah.
been sick. I think my favorite scene, I put it in my Letterboxd review, is how Dark Phoenix, she shows up. She uses her limitless power and rips off Oscar Isaac's shirt to reveal his, to expose him, to destroy him.
The end.
It's a great scene, man. If you're a fan of Hugh Jackman, let's listen. I think I found.
I loved how. All right, so it was the Logan
We're
scene.
talking
That was
about
my favorite.
Apocalypse here, right?
Yeah, the Logan scene is my favorite just because it sets up how Logan is like. There are bits of this movie that set up the Logan movie, and I like how this differentiates this Logan from an alternate timeline. If this Logan had not had this interaction, the Logan movie would not have existed.
You wouldn't have had a thing for redheads.
That's right. He gives them so. What's her name?
Jean Grey.
Jean Grey. Yeah, she comes up and she's like, she uses the Force on Logan. She's like, Logan. She gave him a bit of his past,
Mm-hmm.
just so he can remember.
I'm glad you're taking that scene.
That's a
'Cause the
good scene,
Wolverine
yeah.
coming out absolutely
Plus, we
beast
get to see
mode.
the
cool.
animal
Yeah.
one last
Like,
time.
Oh man.
The
Like,
full-on animal.
well, we get, to
Project
see him,
Got
we get to see him one
They
more
use a
time.
lot of blood there
One
too.
more time. Oh
yeah.
yeah.
A lot of blood.
It
lot
turned
of
rated
blood.
R there for a second. It was beautiful.
There were some like visceral scenes in there, like when Apocalypse is messing with Angel's like ribs and they're like poking out of his body,
That
and
made
you
me-
hear the crunching. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, this toes the line.
Oh, for sure.
Go ahead, Ben.
So I lied to you, Ethan.
That's
actually,
okay.
I'm not.
As long as we know that the Quicksilver
Listen.
is awesome. Yeah.
That's a great scene in this movie. But I really just do want to highlight that Eric in the woods scene. I gotta take that scene, man. It's the most that I felt in this movie. I actually was surprised at how much I disliked it at the end, because once that scene hit, I'm like, dude, this is gonna be great. Eric was one of my favorite parts of Future Past. I think he's going to give a great performance here, and they didn't really do anything with him after that. I think that scene of where he has the watch of his parents and it goes through all of them in slow-mo, their necks, like really well constructed scene and fantastic acting by Michael Fassbender. He is also my favorite character in this movie. Rolling right into that, Michael Fassbender's Eric Lencher is absolutely my favorite part of this movie. Even though he kind of dips down a little at the end, Michael Fassbender kills it. I think the journey that he has gone through, even though it is really the same thing, and that's partly my issue, I still think he is one of the most engaging parts of an otherwise very mixed trilogy for me. And this also does mark the end of a trilogy. We're going to have to do that at the end.
2 trilogy enders in a row.
Yeah, Micah.
The dog with the pizza.
good character. Ethan deserves going to be the guy who's kissing.
My favorite character, I gotta go with. I can't go with Logan this time. I've done Logan every single movie.
He was only in like 3 minutes of the movie.
I think I called Logan my favorite character. I want to shout out Quicksilver though.
Oh, great pick.
I want to shout out Quicksilver. It would have been Logan if Quicksilver didn't come out of nowhere, the blink of an eye. And we got to see some depth in his character. He's no Ralph Boner here.
So a little bit, not enough. I feel like
we're in the shallow end, and it's more than anyone else. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
And
fair.
I think where it shines, we get to see those glimpses of a better movie. Okay. We get to see maybe he could have been like, Dad. Magneto, you're my dad.
Well, like I feel like continue with your character.
We got the running scene, right? We get the other running scene, and we got the other running scene. What more could you want?
Amazing. Yeah.
It's a great character. Ethan?
I'm going to go my all-time favorite X-Men, Mystique. That's a total lie. He stole mine. I'm going Quicksilver also because I just.
All right, then I'm going Logan all the way.
All right, the Beast. There we go.
For reasons already said.
Not to be confused with the Beast.
I think just how good Evan Peters was in Days of Future Past, and just being in this movie, that was enough. Like it was just enough. I like I said, he's one of my favorite comic book castings just ever. I love him.
Is he in Dark Phoenix?
He is.
Yes,
he's on the poster.
is.
So
listen, you guys.
All I'm saying,
guys, Dark Phoenix is in like 12 movies.
Is
listen, man, I can't wait to see. Oh man,
did Dark Phoenix come out after Endgame?
Oh yeah,
it did.
It was the movie. It was
June
April,
or July.
May, then June.
Yeah. I remember I went to see it with my buddy Mason. That was a weird day. That's for sure.
It marked the end of
Loved
the
hanging out with
Infinity
Mason,
Saga. Yeah.
but man, that movie was something else. Gentlemen, I think it's time. I think it's time for scores. A very mixed reaction from the three of us. Ethan kind of in the middle. Micah definitely more positive than I. But before we get into our scores, we do have a few lists to go over before we talk about that.
All right. So if you guys don't know, there's this thing called Hollywood Reporter. There's some whatever website. They made a top 70 Marvel movies list. And I want you guys to take a guess here. Is this better or worse than Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2?
Well,
it's a movie we haven't seen yet on the podcast. It's coming up.
It better be worse than this, than Volume 2.
From what you guys think?
You know what? I think that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is very much hated by critics.
It is.
It is.
Yeah. So, you know what? I say that not me, but they put this above Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Okay. I'll give you guys an easier one. What about Endgame? Better or worse?
Well, so this list famously, I think, has Endgame somewhere in the 50 region.
It's like 36, right?
So
The reason Endgame is where it's at is the reason we're like going over this list and why we go over it every week, because it's so terrible.
If somehow this movie is above Endgame, we gotta burn the whole internet.
All right, so Endgame is 36. It's the first in the rotten, like the bottom half. Apocalypse is 42.
Okay.
Just
all
under
right,
Hulk,
all right.
just above Volume 2.
Man,
I'm a
the
little
amount of
relieved.
relief that I felt there. Jeez.
I just wanted to see you guys squirm.
Yes. It's
Stress.
Let's see what the internet thinks real quick. All right, so Rotten Tomatoes critic, 47%. Audience at a 65, though. Just barely making it fresh. Metacritic is 52. Metacritic user 6.4, very close to the audience score of Rotten Tomatoes. IMDb 6.9, nice. Letterboxd is a 2.6 out of 5. 2.6. Averaging out to a 58, 5.8. I guess we're doing out of 5, right? Out of 10.
Yeah.
Which puts it at 59th place on the internet. 59th.
That's pretty low, man.
That is low. Yeah, out of I've got 93 movies on our list for.
But that's what the internet thinks.
That's right.
The internet puts
nobody
it at
cares
59.
about the
hold on.
internet.
The internet puts it just underneath The Last Stand, by the way.
Underneath The Last Stand. Okay.
Just beneath it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. All right. That's not bad.
X-Men Origins Wolverine is 71, by the way. That's kind of low.
That's way low.
That's
But
way low.
also
Origins?
nostalgia has
No.
a lot of
That-
hold on that
That's
movie.
right where it needs to be. X-Men Origins is
But
a
So
dud.
right. So that
Those movies don't. I mean, those lists don't count, right?
Right.
Of
The internet
course.
doesn't matter. What matters are the three guys who are currently on the internet talking about the movie.
We have a perfect
Right now.
storm brewing for this ranking here.
Amazing.
indeed. So Mr. Wentzloff, where do you put this film as the man sort of in the middle?
So yeah, I'm let down by this movie coming off Days of Future Past, but I also knew critically this one's really hated. Now I don't think it's as bad as everyone on the internet says. I think a lot of points work really well. I kind of like seeing the team work together. Charles, James McAvoy is always good. Michael Fassbender is always good in these movies. Evan Peters, really love Evan Peters. I like Cyclops. I think what they do with him is just enough to
Lots
where
of
I'm
characters.
like, yeah, this guy's compelling. I like him, but I felt a lot of the corny dialogue slipping in from First Class, and just with specifically the inclusion of the CIA woman. I forget her name.
She could have been
Moira
left out.
McTaggart.
Yeah, but she didn't need to be in the movie, and just seeing her on screen reminds me of my dislike of
You get a
First
little bit of
Class.
throw up
I
in the
get
back
like,
of your
yeah, I'm
throat.
like, ooh, that's not the best. I think Apocalypse is really vague in this power set, and his goon squad is really interesting and not really that compelling. Like Angel, we saw Angel as like a gritty character in The Last Stand. It's one of the things that The Last Stand did so well. But this one, he's kind of a goof, and he gets his, character redesigned that Oscar Isaac does. That's his main power set, creating suits. Go ahead. You look like you want to say something.
No, I just am mimicking him,
Yes.
using his power.
Using his power.
His best
His
power.
best power
you
is
know?
learning.
No, so I looked at my other X-Men ratings, and I'm thinking about this one. So this one I like better than X-Men Origins. I like better than the Wolverine. I like this one better than The Last Stand, and I like this one better than First Class. So this one I'm gonna put at a 7 out of 10. But if you look at the list, I also have Blade at a 7. I like Blade more than this.
Okay.
Just want to clarify that.
Yeah,
for the
definitely.
listeners at home.
You got your personal rating, both 7s, but Blade's ahead of this.
Yes.
All right, I like it. Micah, do you want to go, or should I go?
I can go.
Okay, all right, go
I'm
ahead.
just like Ethan. I agree on a lot of his points, pretty much every single one. But I just feel, yeah, high five. I feel like this is the first movie where we're kind of in sync on this.
I don't.
Micah, I love you because that's reminding me of Captain America: The First Avenger. Man, this movie sucked. This is an 8.9 out of 10.
Yeah,
Keep going. I'm sorry.
I really was surprised by how good this movie is, and that might be the reason why I'm bumping this up quite a bit. I loved the All right. I loved all the different characters.
I love this.
I don't know. I think that says a lot. I'm just saying. All right, continue.
I'm gonna say I liked some stuff, and you guys are be like, "Oh, this is."
Listen, you
Go
just
ahead.
you drew a blank at what you liked. All right,
I was gonna say the action. And you guys are gonna give me that look. You're
No,
guys are
no,
gonna
no,
go,
give you a look.
You guys are gonna be like,
Micah,
what?
the reason we're doing this podcast is because we often do disagree. All right,
right.
so absolutely, your opinion
I
is
don't
your
feel
opinion.
comfortable sharing
No.
this.
You should. That's not the
loved
atmosphere we're trying
so
to
many
create
different
here.
things about this movie. I loved the Quicksilver stuff. I love the Eric Lenscher stuff. I mean, this is one of the greatest Wolverine cameos of all time.
Oh yeah.
I mean, hands down, this is sick. It gave me reasons to like characters that I didn't really care about, like Nightcrawler and Cyclops, this timeline Cyclops. It gave me so many different characters that I just cared about in this movie. Not like emotionally, but I was interested in them, right?
Yeah.
I was interested in seeing where their story went.
Okay.
I wasn't like emotionally like crying when these characters got hurt or whatever. It was good. Sure, it didn't go as deep as I would have liked, but it used a broad enough stroke where I was entertained. It was one of the, it was massively entertaining.
Yeah.
As it says on the bottom of the,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. So with that, I have to give it an 8.7 out of 10.
Wow.
8.7.
Okay.
8.7.
Now you gave your letterbox score a 5-star.
I round up.
You
rounded up a good amount.
An 8.7 is
It'd be like a
rounded up
4.5.
to
I was gonna give it a 4.5 initially. I was like, you know what?
Wolverine, man, those pecs, holy cow, 5 stars.
Yeah, we got to see Oscar Isaac nipples in this, and
All right, you know what?
That's
I'm
more than,
willing to round up quite a few decimal
Round it up,
points.
Ben.
All right,
no, I round
You're
up.
You
another
rounded up
half
a
star.
point per nipple, all right? So
8.7.
8.7. Okay.
Wow, that is,
So
that's high.
he
Man.
just reacted to his own 8 points. Okay, yeah, you reacted
All
to your
right,
own
I'm
score.
comfortable with that.
I like
I
that.
like this.
Yeah.
All right, 8.7, man.
It might go down on a rewatch. Okay. But I'm pretty hype on this right now.
All right.
Yeah.
That's good. A lot of people are. Chris Stuckman is right where you are, man. He loves.
This movie
he
doesn't
really
get
liked this
enough
movie,
love.
man.
And if my 8.7 is enough to convince a couple people out there to watch this movie, do
Yeah,
it.
it's not.
This is worth a watch. I'd say it's not a skip.
Totally worth
And
a
there's
watch.
like
Yeah.
First Class, we recommend that as a skip. This was not a skip.
What did we give First Class? I think we all collectively
First
gave
Class
it
was
like a 5.
1.5.
Yeah. We did not. Yeah, that was not good. I don't know, man. I appreciate, Micah, your take. I also appreciate yours, Ethan. Like it.
Just not as much.
Just no. I absolutely, because if we had me on here, this movie would be very low. I really don't like this movie. I made that very clear. I think when you said Nightcrawler, I forgot he
Yes.
was in this movie. I'm not gonna lie, he had nothing to do. I really think he was way better in X-Men 2.
Thriller outfit though.
He did have a thriller outfit, but
They talked about Empire in this movie.
it's just they bring so many characters in and they don't give anyone enough to do to where you actually start to care about them, in my opinion. I don't even think Charles is where he should be as far as character
one of his weaker
investment.
ones, yeah.
It's definitely one of his weaker ones. Eric and some scenes with Quicksilver are really some high points, and there's a lot of shoddy CGI. I praise this movie for taking the risks it does. I think it goes very big, bigger than I think any X-Men movie has in the past. I just really can't get behind the villain, and I can't get behind a lot of the narrative choices between them. I think the movie would have been a lot more emotional had there been a lot less characters in the movie. And these X-Men movies have this problem a lot. You have a lot of X-Men team up movies that bring in a lot of random one-off offshoot characters just for the street cred, so they can say, oh yeah, we had Psylocke in this movie. Oh yeah, we had Angel in this movie, when you don't do the work to make people care about them. And this movie falls prey immensely to that. And I find myself very uninvested when it comes to the finale. For me, the finale is just stuff happening. And I can't give this movie great marks. This is one of the lower X-Men movies for me. Not terrible though. Like I'm not hating watching this movie. This is not a Ghost Rider. This is not a Daredevil. Like it doesn't reach that level of bad, but it definitely, the quality of superhero films that we are treated to, we deserve better, I think. So with that, I think a 6.5 is
Okay.
well deserved for this movie. 6.5
Not top marks
for
today.
me. No, definitely not. I think even Deadpool, which I was pretty critical with, I like more than X-Men Apocalypse. So with a 6.5, a 7, and an 8.7, where does that leave us for the multiverse monologue score?
That gives us a 7.4 out of 10. 7.4.
Wow.
Let me throw that into our ranking here. So, 7.4 out of 10. We have a couple movies in our 7.5 range. If you guys remember, we had a 3-way split almost for Amazing Spider-Man 2, X-Men 2, and Spider-Man 3 in our 7.5 range.
Ooh.
So coming in just underneath Spider-Man 3 at 16th place is X-Men Apocalypse.
Wow.
16.
16.
Okay.
That's just about how many characters there were in this movie. 16th place.
So wait, so what is above? What is 15?
All right. Let me read from 10th place to
X-Men Apocalypse. Yeah, I want to
to
see what's
X-Men.
around here.
So 10th place, First Avenger. That's the next on the docket to be kicked out of top 10.
That's
At an
unfortunate.
8.3. Next is Thor at 11th place at an 8.2. 12th place is Spider-Man at a 7.9. 13th place is The Amazing Spider-Man 2 at a 7.53 repeating.
Tragically high.
Still in the top 15, baby.
X2 at 14th place with a 7.503 repeating. Very
God.
close. And then 15th place is Spider-Man 3 at a 7.5 even. 16th place, X Apocalypse 7.4. And then 17th place is Blade 2 at a 7.3
wow.
repeating.
Ooh, we messed up there, guys.
I like Blade 2 a
I think
little
we
bit.
messed up
Blade,
there.
Blade has been kicked out of the top 20.
Oh.
It is now 21st place.
Oh.
Still at a 6.9 though. So that's nice.
Right, that is nice, but oh man,
So,
dang.
question then. So, in this movie, they go see an absolutely fantastic film.
Return of the Jedi.
They see Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And Jean Grey poses an interesting question. She says, which is a very like meta moment in this movie, the third movie is always the worst. So with that, Micah, I would like to segue into our trilogy.
Good segue.
Yeah, our trilogy
man.
scores. Let's look at that.
All right, so
Impressive.
first class we gave a 5.5. We all agreed on that. Days of Future Past we were hot on. Let me see our individual scores for that. We had where's it at? We had a 9.4, a 9, and a 9. Ethan, you gave it a 9.4, averaging a 9.13. Apocalypse is a 7.4. That averages out to a 7.34, which means that we as a group think that the X-Men Beginnings trilogy is better than the X-Men trilogy.
This trilogy
You
is
know what?
better than the
Trilogy is
OG
better than the
trilogy.
OG.
Oh, I don't know actually.
It's tough. What do you guys think?
It's just
Wait, really?
Yeah.
It's the fantastic film that is Days of Future Past
Yeah,
that
you're right.
is elevating the whole second half.
So
But
X-Men,
Yeah.
X-Men was a 6.93.
That's
X2
what we gave it?
was a 7.5, and The Last Stand was a 6.63, averaging out to a 7.02. It's not far off, but it's there.
wow. I say our best
you're
movie
right.
out of the six is Days of Future
Yes.
Past.
By
but
far, yeah.
And that's what's carrying
Yeah.
hard the X-Men.
And we'll see how that how
Septilogy?
our Dark Phoenix score affects the quadrilogy of Beginnings.
But let's look at the broader look at all these trilogies. The question was, are the third movies typically the worst? And I'd like to know what our scores have concluded.
Oh, yeah, I can
because
look at that.
Spider-Man 3, I know.
So Blade Trinity was the worst.
Yes.
At a
Yes.
5.1.
Yeah.
There's one.
Raimi trilogy, 7.5. That's the worst.
Yeah.
There's two.
Last Stand, that's the worst. At a 6.6.
Yeah.
There's three.
Iron Man trilogy, 8.47. That's not the worst.
Yeah.
Logan is coming up. That is not the worst. Guaranteed. Civil War, 9.47. That is not the worst. Apocalypse, not the worst. Fan Four Stick, if you want to count it. Not the worst.
Fans Four Stick is not the worst.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It is the worst.
It is the worst.
It is
Yeah.
the worst.
Yeah.
I meant the worst. That was just in a funk. Quantumania. We rated that
I don't know.
7.73.
That's going to be the Ant-Man trilogy. Is going to be
Ant-Man
interesting.
we gave a 6.63. Quantumania we gave a 7.73. That's not our official score yet, but that was our initial impressions.
Yeah. I'd be interested to see how that ages.
Guardians 3, not the worst.
Ooh,
No Way Home,
I don't know.
not the worst. Beyond the Spider-Verse, that's not the worst.
Oh, it might be.
It might be, man,
Those
yeah.
two first movies are so good.
Got a lot to live up
Ragnarok,
to.
not
Yep.
the worst. Infinity War, not the worst.
True. Yeah.
That's true. Very mixed, but you definitely look at some of those big 80s trilogies, man, and it does lend itself. Indiana Jones, I feel,
Back to the Future 3,
really
maybe.
pushes back. Back to the Future 3 is definitely the worst.
It's the worst, but I like it.
Oh, no, but that's the thing. All three Back to the Future, just like Star Wars, all three of them
Yeah.
I like. I just do think the third one falls off.
My dad loves the third one. the most.
You go Batman. There you go. The third one definitely is horrible.
Is that Batman and Robin?
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
Dark
Batman
Knight Rises.
Forever.
Dark Knight Rises is trash.
Well, once you get to...
Terry
Well, that
watched
is, I would say, the worst out of the three.
Agreed.
War for the
But
Planet
I
of the
really
Apes.
like both. I would say War for the Planet of the Apes is the weakest one.
Return of the King.
Yeah,
trash.
that one's really trash.
Well, you can't bring Lord of the Rings into that comparison.
Desolation of Smaug. Trash.
No, Battle of Five
Oh,
Armies.
I'm sorry, Battle of Five Armies. Trash.
Agreed.
Battle of
Yeah.
Fart
Yeah.
Armies.
Yeah. There's definitely some credence
Revenge of the
to
Sith,
that
the
one.
worst.
Oh, dude, that one's the best.
Punisher Warzone.
Peak.
Oh, man, we didn't watch Dolph Lundgren's Punisher, man, to complete the trilogy.
We got to go
Might have
back.
to do
that.
Guys, let us know in the comments if you want us to do in the back catalog, because we've got some Captain America movies. We got some old Spider-Man, some old Incredible Hulk. Doctor Strange 78 is sitting on that shelf right now.
The only way is if people want it.
Just
I don't want to do it.
a simple thumbs up. You know, that's all it takes. Leave that down
No.
below.
There's like a 5-hour
That
Captain
lets us
America
know that
serial
you've
from
made it
46.
this far. Give us a thumbs up right now if you're still here. Just
That's
do that.
right. Okay, we haven't done this yet. We always do this. What's the next film, gentlemen?
I'll
What's
let you guys
next
know.
on our list? I think I know.
So we were in the X-Men universe. We're going to be closing that out for a little bit here. We've got one movie before Logan.
And that is
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange. Okay.
Oh,
Doctor
man.
Benedict
Strange.
Cumberbatch.
Man,
Strange, isn't it?
dude.
There was a big stretch there where whenever we would say strange.
Yeah,
Remember
there
that?
was.
Strange.
I was
Strange.
even thinking, like, man, it's gonna be pretty
So
epic
bring
on the
your
podcast.
bring your
Yes.
You guys got it.
That's right. Yeah. Bring
You
our
guys got it.
Ayamotos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
We bought
That's
those for
gonna
the what's it called?
Multiverse of Madness.
Monologues.
Yeah. Multiverse
Ooh.
monologues.
Yeah, man.
That was one of our first episodes.
Shout out to Zach Schultz if you're still listening, because I saw Doctor Strange with him in the theaters. So next week I'll mention that also.
Man, that
My
must have
aunt's
been epic.
favorite Marvel superhero.
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
I love
She
Doctor
loves
Strange.
Doctor Strange.
He's great.
Yeah.
Surprised she doesn't have a tattoo of him or something.
Very good.
Maybe she does.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that is next week.
Strange.
Doctor Strange.
To close
Benedict
out
Cumberbatch.
2016.
That's right. It's been a pretty interesting year. That's
A lot
for sure.
of closing. We had the end of Phase 2. We had the beginning of Phase 3, which was the end of the Captain America trilogy. We had the end of the X-Men Beginnings trilogy. And now we have the end of the 2016
Yeah.
era.
Doctor Strange is going to be a good one. It's also going to be an interesting one. I'm pretty hot on Doctor Strange. I'm not going to lie. I remember
Is this
really
our first
liking
Michael
it.
Giacchino?
Oh, man, you're going to make me...
Make him
you
think.
Lose your mind.
Yes. Final answer.
Michael Giacchino. Yep. First one, Doctor Strange.
Yes.
Second one is Homecoming.
Spider-Man Homecoming.
Then
He does Far
No
From
Way
Home and No Way Home.
and Far From Home. Yep.
Yeah. Pretty good stuff, man. So enjoy that. Look forward to that next week. We thank you guys for those of you who are still sticking around this long for X-Men Apocalypse. Let us know where we went wrong or went right. Are you as hot on this as Micah is? Let us know down in the comments below. For
I'm
now,
always hot.
this is, well, that's definitely true. But for now, this is Ben Rayside.
I am learning. You can't do it. I'm Ethan Wenslav.
Moon Knight. I'm Micah. I toss and turn.
We all hope you have an absolutely fantastic day.